the kinetic racking system is great because it works with the nail line of the shingles. As long as the shingles are put in properly, you should never really have to even remove any nails, and that's a great thing about kinetic that I like. Every once in a while though, you'll find that your roofer has put the nailing strip not in the right place, and you will in fact not be able to get the shingle all the way in because you're up against the nailing strip with the top of the flashing. So in this case, some people will want to then pull the nail out that's impeding the flashing going in, and what I wanted to show was that not necessary. In fact, what I would do is line up the flashing as well as you can, and then give it a tap with the hammer, and what you're doing then is giving an indent to the flashing where the nail is impeding. Pull your flashing out, and you can see right here you've got an indent where the nail was impeding it. Take your shears and just make a little V cut over top of where the flashing was. Slip it back in. Problem solved. As you can see, we finished all our penetrations and anchoring points for our racking system. We've then brought up our rails to the roof and placed them roughly in line with where they're going to go. We've got 2 strings of 9, or 2 rows of 9 as I mentioned. So the kinetic racking pieces come typically in rail lengths of 3 module lengths, which is a 10-foot 2-inch, or a 13-foot 5-inch rail length for the 4 modules. So what I've got up here is 8 4-module lengths, and so if you do the math, we're missing a little bit of rail material that we'll cut at a later date. For now, I'm just going to show you the basics of clipping the L bracket K-nut into the rail profile in the most efficient way, and the way to kind of pre-assemble these rails in a way that's going to help you assemble them efficiently long term. Now, another thing I want you to notice is that on the far end, and we'll take a look down there closer, we've got a depression on the garage side. So a little bit further down there, we've got the trusses on my roof are a little bit lower than the original house, which is right here. And so we've got a depression. So what we've done is we've added a 4-inch L bracket into the pieces on that far end, and I'm hoping that's going to help us level out the full array, get the top of the rails into a single plane, which is going to help our module array look seamless and in a single plane when it's done. So I'm going to go down there, I'm going to quickly attach 2 rails, and then we'll check in and do a few close-up shots of how that works. What we're looking at here is the 4-inch L bracket that I mentioned earlier. So it's an inch taller than the 3-inch L bracket, surprisingly. Anyways, this is what you're going to find when you're setting up your rails. This is the L brackets come pre-assembled. What I like to do when I approach it is I back off the bolt a couple turns, and that's going to give me just a little bit more play, because the K-nut, this is the nut that fits in the rail profile, it's basically going to rocker into that profile edge. And I'll show you how that works. You bring it up and in, and then tighten those few turns that you tightened it off, that you loosened it off, tighten it back up, and then you leave it, and then you move on to the next L bracket. When you've got your rail properly connected to the L brackets at the beginning, everything should be loose. So don't tighten anything down more than finger tight, because there's lots of adjustments to be done. And you can see that you have the adjustment room on all planes here, on 2 planes. So you've got a lot of adjustability to the system, and that's where you want it right now while you're still setting up your rails. Remember, we're going to be connecting our rails one to the other using a joiner. So it's best that they're not all tightened down, because you'll cause yourself a lot of grief as you make the small adjustments to this thing being a plain and perfectly level system. Okay, next step, we've got our rails at least loosely put in, and then we're going to be joining the next set of rails to the first set of rails that is set up where we want it. So we just take the joiner piece, slide it into the rail. And then we take our loose rail that has not yet been clipped in, mate it up, and slide the joiner over top. And that's essentially where it's going to sit, and you can just finger tighten it up for the time being. And that way, when you go to place the next rail into the L brackets, you don't need to slide it around a whole bunch. So I'm going to do that up all 4 rail joins here, and then we'll move on and reclip in the next row of rails. And then the last thing I'll do to finish up the rails, I've got a row of 1 extra module on the end, as I said, and what we're going to do is cut some extra rail material and join it onto the end of the 2 13.5 foot sections.